capture. We're in business. There we are. Right. What is going on? View, 3D cockpit command. Look. Here we go. Okay. Right. Let's get this situated in a texture quality is okay, isn't it? I mean, texture resolution at the very least is not bad. Okay. That seems about right. That seems pretty good. I feel the view is fine, honestly. I think like that, just so I can see the temperature gauge. It's about the same view I have when I'm playing Cliffs of Dover. So let's hit Control 1 for that. I will move the camera down here. Zoom on in. I'll say that's Control 2, because trust me, we are going to need to be able to see that compass. Like so. There we are. Now, can we open it by clicking this? How to make open canopy, please. Whatever. Well, we've got an external view with a questionable looking pilot model, but okay. Well, this would appear, judging by the propeller, to be a Rotol variant of the Spitfire Mk.I. Interesting. I will say the canopy does not look correct. That slope there on the windscreen is way too steep. Shouldn't be that steep. Other than that, it looks okay, I guess. The polys on the tail could be a bit more. I mean, it looks a little bit jaggedy in places. The actual skin itself is a bit rubbish. I mean, I think this comes with a bunch of other skins. Let's have a look. Open aircraft. You know, I do actually have to reload the skin and the aircraft anyway, don't I? So that's probably why I can't get the canopy to open. There we are. Oh boy. Right, you know what? Plugins, plugin admin, X squat box, go away. There we go. Now the canopy's open. If I click that again, it closes. Excellent. Right, that was why. That was what the problem was. Very good. Incidentally, through that entire mission we just did, I did not have a button mapped to open canopy, so if I'd been shot at and needed to bail out, I would have been royally boned. So, yeah. Just worth pointing out. Let me just adjust the OBS volume there. Raise it up a bit. Okay, so, apparently I forgot to save my camera preset. Let me just do that now. There we go, that can be Control 7. Alright, well, graphically it's nothing to sing and dance about, but okay. Let's have a look at some of the other skins, shall we? I'm liveries, if you really want to call it that. We've got this guy. This is, early Spitfire colours, very early actually. They've just got a J on the side there and nothing else. That's very old school. 1939, early 1940 colours that, actually. It's not too bad, I guess. The camouflage is the right colour. It's just mostly just comes down to they've got the font a bit better on that, actually, on this version. Not too bad. It's sort of, it just looks like a toy. If you know what I mean. It just sort of looks like a toy. The gear should be more slanted as well. It should be slightly slanted off to the left and right, as opposed to just sort of bolt straight like that. Does my new photo scenery work? Oh yeah, it did. Except for that, fuck's going on there? Hole in the earth going on over there. Never mind, we'll ignore that. Yikes. Slight problem with the HD mesh there, I think. Never mind. This is Biggin Hill, by the way, which today is a corporate and general aviation airfield, whatever you call it, but during the war this was one of Fire Command's biggest air bases. These are the very same runways that were used during the war. Of course, this one used to be a runway here, but it's now a taxiway. But yeah. Some of the old buildings should still be there, yeah, like the old World War II control tower there. That's still there. This hangar over there. They do air shows here every now and again as well, so... right. What else have we got to play with here? JZE, KLA, QVI. That's 92 Squadron, I think. QV. It is indeed. We'll go with QVI. Yeah, that's a class livery, that one. It's a famous one. Anyway. Right. So what do we got inside then? We've got all the gauges. We've got, you know, the detailing on them is not that bad. I mean, it's just weird. Like, the overall effect doesn't look quite right, but the actual detailing on, like, the panels here is not bad at all. It is fully 3D, I'll give it that. The Cliffs of Dover Spitfire, you probably didn't notice it on the stream, but it cheats, the Cliffs of Dover Spitfire, because the Cliffs of Dover Spitfire, a lot of the cockpit elements are, in fact, 2D. They are 2D sprites. So this is all modeled in 3D. They do appear to have, yep, look, you got a transponder and a radio. A concession to flying a vintage aircraft in the modern world, which, to be honest with you, I think is probably a good thing it's there. I'm reasonably sure that examples of these aircraft still flying today do have transponders and modern VHF radios on board. In the original, you would have a radio located over here with a big stonking great handle on it. But it would effectively be useless for communication these days because it was a military radio designed to operate on 1940s military frequencies. So I'm not surprised that in this variant they've chosen to model it removed and replaced with a modern one. But that's okay. I mean, it's good that it's there. I mean, effectively I could now take this onto Pilot Edge or something if I wanted to, because I do have all the necessary gear here. Let's see, what else have we got? We've got the radio switch, fuel pump. Why on earth do we have a fuel pump switch over there? And more to the point, why do we have a fuel pump switch at all? Okay, well, moving on. Pitot heat, yes. Gun arm, yes. I like that the guns are armed on the ground. We've got a menu. Engine vibration on, engine heat management full. That's, you absolutely leave that on. I want to see how that's modeled, because half the job of flying a Spitfire is managing the radiator temperatures. Radio down here, navigation computer there, pilot's view, blah blah blah. Views, menu. Alright, cool. That's the trim wheel, that's the elevator trim right there. Rudder bias is there, although it looks like it's in the wrong place. Pretty sure it should be down here somewhere, but I'm not 100% sure on that. These old planes, especially Spitfires, depending on the production model, things move around all the time. For example, let's see. Now, okay, right, so here, this is incorrect as far as I'm aware, because look, you've got... So we've got a fuel cock over here, and we've got two fuel cocks over here. Now, typically, on early Spitfires, Mark 1 specifically, you would have one of two variants. You'd have one where you had a single lever over here, and a single lever here, this tank pressure switch here. And those are for the top and bottom tanks. One for each. Alternatively, you would have, on I think later production models, you would have two two fuel cocks sat here right next to each other. And you'd have a boost cutout switch, which I pointed out to you guys previously when we were in Cliffs of Dover, but is not present here. And again, the fuel cutout switch was not present in all models, as far as I'm aware. All Mark 1s. In later models, it was removed. But there you go. Point being, anyway, at the end of the day, we have 3 fuel cocks, despite the fact we only have 2 fuel tanks. So that I'm not an expert. I don't profess to be an expert. I have read many books on this subject, though, and we should not have 3 fuel cocks when we have 2 fuel tanks. It's only logical. But we do, nevertheless. Engine start switch, you can unguard that and hit it. Okay, very good. Starting magnetos over there. That is, of course, clickable. Very nice. It already has bonus points over the Cliffs of Dover one because I can click the bloody starting magneto. And yeah, I can also prime the engine as well. I don't know how yeah, there we go. We click there to pull out the priming pump, and we click there to pump it. Very good. That would be our landing lights, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they're retractables that come out of the wings. That is correct. Or we have a retractable one that comes out of the wing. There we go. And we have this, which I believe is actually what... Yeah, that controls the retracting thing. You look over there. If I bring that down, this lever will extend the light. At least it should do. That should extend it, and that should switch it on. However, it seems to be the case that you just switch it on, and then that's it. Curious. Okay, no, they... I wonder. See, now I'm wondering if I've got this backwards, or if they have. Okay, I think... Right. I need to go double-check this, but I think the way it's supposed to work is the way they've done it here. I think, even though that says on... That actually clicking that extends it, bringing that down extends it, and this is actually effectively a dimmer switch. You look at that. If I dim that right down, it's very dimly lit. Yeah, there you go. So you have a dimmer switch for the landing light. I can't remember it. Part of me thinks that should be the other way around, but I could be wrong. Anyway, that's the flaps there. I can't seem to move that though. Interesting. Nav lights, switch those on. There you go. Nav lights on the wingtips. More Guinness. Magnetos. What is this? That is the pitch lever. Now, okay, so like I said, this is a Rotol air screw, which means that even though this is a Mark 1 Spitfire, we should indeed have an air screw control lever here, as opposed to a bicycle pump style air screw control up on the left here. Early models had a de Havilland propeller that was variable pitch, which was controlled with a bicycle pump like device over here on the left, which you would push forwards and pull outwards. This, however, it uses a Rotol air screw, which you can tell because it's very rounded off on the end and not pointy, which is a constant speed prop. More like what you'd find on modern aircraft, and it is controlled with this lever here. The boost cutout thing works excellent. Push to extend the throttle past the point of no return. We push that all the way to the end there, and then it doesn't seem to want to go further anyway. I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see if that unlocks the additional pounds per square inch of boost, or whether it's just a cosmetic thing. Actually, we shall see. There's the mixture, which pretty much, to be honest with you, unless we're cruising over a very fucking long distance, you will leave in the auto-rich position and not switch it up to lean at the top there. Yep, it's backwards. That's the way it is. That's the way they made it. You would think it would be lean pulled all the way back, but no. So fuel cocks are indeed on. Now I've switched them off, now they're back on again. Same goes for that one now. So we've got all 3 on for all 2 of our tanks. A fuel jettison lever. Interesting. I was unaware such a thing existed on the Spitfire, but again, I could be wrong. Yeah, I am considering a career in aviation, as it turns out. Considering, note, considering. We have windshield de-icing down there. We've got this, which, yeah, this is the landing gear, which in certain models of this would be or hydraulic. In other versions, it is operated by a hand pump, as you can see here. Now, I'm not doing anything. All I've done is I've switched it into the lower position, and the sim is basically doing the hand pumping for me. I think that's the way they've chosen to model it, as opposed to the A2A version, where you actually have to bind a key or something to the hand pump and pump it yourself. Ooh, air matron. This seems to be a sort of concession to the fact that you're not actually in a cockpit with a physical lever that's much easier to operate. So they've basically just done it so that it pumps itself. As soon as you click the lever, the pumping is done effectively for you. Kind of a shame, if I'm being honest, though, because it was an awkward feature of the real aircraft. You would effectively, a lot of pilots who flew this thing take note of the fact that immediately after takeoff, you would sometimes see people wobble around in the sky slightly because they had to switch which hand was on the stick. They'd go from right hand to left hand, so the right hand could pump the gear up. So immediately after takeoff, you'd see them sort of waller around in the sky for a minute where they took their hands off the controls. But hey, okay, it's fine. No worries. Can we switch this on? I'll put it on standby. Switch radio on. Pitot heat on, I guess? No, that's pressure heat heading. What? I don't know what that is. Okay, whatever. Pitot heat. Alright, there we go. Radio's on and off. So that's set to... Well, I've got that on Unicom right now. 122.8, very good. Which we can tune the standby and then swap them over, like so. Very good. Transponder, I could set a random old... We'll go 7,000, we're in the UK and we'll be VFR, so... Oops. There we go, 0. 7,000. Very nice, and they got ident there, very good. There's a VFR button that seems to be in op. It doesn't really, it's probably just as well, to be honest with you, because VFR squawk codes vary depending on what country you happen to be flying in, so... So, all the gauges and stuff, we got RPM, generator, switch that on, I guess. Gun sight, which, yeah, they did advertise this as being a functioning gun sight, which, look at that, it is fully collimated, that's pretty cool. You don't get that in FSX as far as I'm aware, not properly anyway, but you do here, and here's the true test. Can you adjust it? Okay, now the question is, stores ref N8511 reflector gun sight Mark 1. I don't think that's quite correct. This top one here, bloody hell, if I can select it. That should not make the gun sight go up and down. What that should do is, the way these things work is, you have two dials here. One sets the wingspan of the enemy plane you're going to be shooting at. So, for example, if you want to shoot at an ME-109, you set the wingspan on here to approximately 32 feet. And then this one, or it might be the other way around, I'm not sure, you set to the range. Which will typically be whatever your machine guns are set to converge at, which in most cases is something around between 150 to 400 yards. So you would set the range, so you set it to say 200 yards, which is what I use, for example, in Cliffs of Dover. You'd set the range to 200, and then you would set the top one, I think, should be range, and you would set the this to the wingspan of the enemy plane. And so what would happen is it doesn't move up and down. Basically, both of these things here, they move the position of these. You see these side bits, the crosshair, whatever you call them. And effectively, what it means is, because you'll notice that's how mine looked when we were flying Cliffs of Dover. That's because I was too lazy to actually adjust it. But what you would do is say if you want to, you set the range of it to say 200 yards and a wingspan of 32 feet. It would look something kind of like that. And the basic idea is it's actually very simple. When you're tailing an enemy and you want to know when is the best time to shoot him, you wait until his wingspan fills that gap between this line and this line, and this little gap here. When his wingspan fits quite neatly in there, that is when you pull the trigger. Right with the dot over the middle of his fuselage, and it's basically a visual aid to help you gauge when exactly you are meant to fire. So, yeah, that's how that works. It's kind of cool that they decided to model it in here, but again, like I said, that does not seem correct. Again, I don't know though. I don't know 100% for certain, because this could be a different mark of gun sight. This could be a different version of gun sight. As I said, this appears to be a Mark 1 Revi sight. The ones I'm used to may be a slightly different version. So, yeah, something worth reading up on. Other than that, what else have we got? We've got oxygen, which I believe is functional. Yeah, it does work. That's pretty cool. We will have to measure that, manage that then if we decide to go above like 10,000 feet or so. We've got cockpit lights, which are apparently supposed to be functional, but I think they probably only work at night, because typically all it does is it adds a sort of faint reddish glow to the cockpit, because obviously you do not fly a Spitfire IFR, so you want to be able to see out the windows and preserve your night vision in the dark, typically. So these cockpit lights will not light up the dash like a Christmas tree as it would in a modern aeroplane. Anyway, let's switch off that right now. Okay, yeah, no, we switch it off, and look at that. That's quite good. It actually fades right off, as opposed to just flicking immediately off. That's pretty good. Right. Turn and bank indicator, side slip indicator, artificial horizon, directional gyro, variometer, speedometer in miles per hour, not knots. Take note. Were I to fly this online and below 10,000 feet, I would obviously want to stay below 250 knots, so I would have to make note of how many miles per hour 250 knots is and stay below that. And bear in mind, this is it might be very, very old by now, but it's still a high-performance fighter aircraft. It will quite easily break 250 knots if you let it. This is no Cessna, I'll put it that way. Altimeter, which I can adjust the pressure on. Very good. What is the... Let me just inject some weather here. Oh, hold on. What the fuck? You going sitting there talking about Elder Scrolls? Whatever. Do whatever you want to do, I guess. Could not be more off topic if you tried, but hey. Yeah, pressure's 1028 at the moment, so let's adjust that. There we go. 1028 hectopascals. That is a trim meter. That makes a note of our current elevator trim, like so. I'm just adjusting that now with my stick. You typically want a bit of down trim when taking off in this thing, if it were real and not a pretend aeroplane. Anyway, but the problem is, unfortunately, I don't seem to be able to. Okay, now I can. Now I can adjust it down. Very good. Get a bit of down trim. There we are. We've got, that's the brakes. That's the pneumatics over there. Air supply for the brakes. We can talk about petunias instead. It'd make a nice change of pace. Oh, suddenly clouds. Very nice. Murdering my frame rate slightly, but very nice nevertheless. We got this thing. It's a remote. It says remote contactor, so presumably it's a remote contactor. To this day, I've still not quite figured out what the fuck it is, though. We got this, which is actually you can use this type Morse code. That's how old this motherfucking thing is. See, Morse off, steady upward. This would also control, I believe, your strobes and your beacon light as well. But it seems to be in op, which is a shame, considering they've actually decided to model quite a few things on this. That is your emergency gear extension. Not modelled, it would seem, though. Again, bit of a shame. That is a tank of compressed air, effectively. You pull the lever on that, set this into the lower position, which is there. Pull the compressed air, and the pneumatics blow compressed air through the system, which jolts the gear into the down position where they will hopefully lock, and then you can land if your hydraulics are busted, basically. Or if for some reason, you know, the hand pump isn't working, I guess. That's kind of it, really. There you go, that's the crash course in what a Spitfire is and how it works. Oh, other than, I guess, the old boat compass. This is a compass. I call it a boat compass because it's literally that. It was a compass that was initially designed for boats, for ships, for the Navy. And unfortunately, when they got around to sort of designing this thing, they really had no better thing to work with than a boat compass. So that is exactly what they went with. The Germans were slightly more advanced. They had a repeater compass, which was up on the dash around there-ish. But the Brits stuck with this sort of strange boat compass, which you would have to lean over and pass your stick in order to be able to see, and it would wobble around all over the place and was generally not very bloody good. But it got the job done. You could set a course with it like so. If I can find the bloody click spot for it, I can adjust that to set a course. Can I also do it like that? Yep, there you go. And this bit pointing out from the T there, that was the course I want to fly, and if I want to fly that course, basically I have to get this T bar to line up with this big T here, and effectively, say I've set a course of I don't know how do I work how the hell are you supposed to work that out? I'm not sure this bit's supposed to rotate with it, if I'm being honest. Anyway, yeah, I need to refresh my memory on that thing. Alright, well, should we try and start it up, I guess? Now, once I've got this engine started, we will have to sort of not dilly-dally too much, and we'll actually need to go taxi and take off, because the Spitfire is legendary for overheating on the ground. If you ever go to an air show and you see a bunch of these things flying around, you will occasionally notice one of them being towed away by a truck afterwards, because in the big rush, the big queue to get all the Spitfires back on the ground, typically the guy who came last will sometimes overheat his engine and will have to taxi on by onto the grass, off the runway, stop the engine, turn everything off, and will get towed away by a truck. It happens on a fairly regular basis at most of the air shows I've been to at Duxford. There's always at least one Spitfire being towed away by a truck. And that is because this thing overheats like crazy. It got a very bizarre design. This water radiator here, as you can see, the engine's water cooled. Air goes into the radiator. That cools the water coolant, essentially, which then cools the engine. And unfortunately, as you can see, that radiator is totally obscured by the gear leg when the gear is down. So the minute you put the gear down in a Spitfire, it starts to heat up steadily. And once you're on the ground and you don't have a bunch of air rushing through it, because you're going along a runway at like 40 knots or whatever, it starts to heat up even more. And basically, as soon as you start the engine on the ground ready to go and taxi, it's a race against time, basically. You have to get this thing off the ground before it overheats, and you have to turn it off. And that was fine in World War II, because this thing was primarily designed to take off on a grass strip immediately after starting up. You'd park it like... You'd have like 12 of the bloody things parked all the way along sort of there-ish, and come the squadron scramble, they had to get airborne, everyone would run and jump into a Spitfire, the mechanics would start it up, he'd get his parachute on, in he gets, and they'd just take off straight away. Off they go, down the field. No taxiing, no holding at holding points, none of that rubbish. That's what it was designed to do, and that's what it's very good at doing. However, in the modern world, it doesn't work like that. You have to like actually taxi for a good 20 minutes, and then you have to hold and wait for people to go around and land before you can take off, and you've got to wait for the wake turbulence to clear and stuff like that, which makes flying these in a modern civilian context not fun, really, not fun at all. Once it's in the air, it's fine. On the ground, though, it's a pain in the dick. So the radiator effect hopefully will be modelled, Nerd Rage. It does, hence the whole option here, as you see, engine heat management. That presumably is there. I can put it on basic. I can basically dumb it down if it's too difficult to deal with. That would be my theory. We'll see if that's the case in practice. So yeah. Alright, well, let's have a look then. We've got generator on. Starter magneto on. Magnetos on, both of them. Nav lights are on. Gun sights off. Gear is locked in down position. Fuel cocks are all in. Unguard the starter. No, actually guard it again for now. Throttle cracked. Mixture order rich. Air screw full fine pitch. Aha! Radiator. Open. Radiator flap all the way open, please. There you go. There's the radiator flap at the back there, this thing here. Controlled by this handy dandy little lever. Push that all the way there forward to the open position. Pitch trim is set for nose down. And we'll get priming. So pull this out. Now, it's pretty damn cold at the minute in the UK, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That should do it, hopefully. This here, the spade grip is incorrect, by the way. This is a two-position button here, which is typically used on later models which had wing cannons. You would push the button one way to fire the cannons, and you'd push the button the other way, this little paddle thing here, to fire the machine guns. This is a Mark I Spitfire, however, which is equipped with 8 Vickers machine guns. Sorry, Browning machine guns. What am I talking about? 8 Browning 303 machine guns, which would all be controlled with one brass button in the middle of the spade grip, right about there, where this thing is. So that's actually incorrect. That could do with being changed. Again, as far as I know. The brakes on this thing does not have toe brakes. Peculiar to British aircraft of the era, none of them have toe brakes. They have differential brakes, similar to what you find on Russian aircraft, funnily enough, which is controlled by this lever here. Let's see if that works. There's my... Yep. Pulling my brakes button does seem to pull the lever, and as you can see, the brakes there, and basically the way this works, you can see the amount of pressure being assigned to the brakes there. If I want to brake left, I pull the brakes, push the rudder to the left. You want to apply right wheel brake, you pull the brakes, and apply right rudder. And that's how it works. It's actually very simple. So yeah, let's do this. We got it primed. Unguard the starter. Throttle is cracked. The moment of truth. Any chance of life? Nope. Interesting. Okay. Now that's interesting, how like just opening the fuel cock seems to open the fuel pressure. That's slightly strange. I wonder, that should be the open position. Yeah, it is. Okay. So magnetos are on. Starting magneto, is that on or off? It's on. Sound. Have you guys not got sound? You should have sound, it's just, I think it's being very quiet. I'll readjust it once I've got the engine on. Right, fuel pump. I wonder if that's got something to do with it. As far as I'm aware, Spitfire does not have a fuel pump, certainly not a Mark I anyway, so why that is a mystery. I wonder if the mixture lever is backwards. I wonder if they've got it backwards. That wouldn't surprise me. Should we try that again? I won't prime it again just yet. Yeah, as I thought, the mixture lever is backwards. Okay. I believe it's the bottom for auto rich, but I could be wrong actually now I think about it. Seems to be moving all by itself. I've 0 throttle right now. It's, yep. I've lowered the RPM. The air screw control's at 0. It's still moving though. Interesting. It shouldn't do that, but it is. Seems to be the case that it'll only not move if you put the air screw control all the way to full course. That isn't actually strictly speaking correct, but okay. Let me just test that theory. Yep, if I put the air screw control all the way to full pitch, full fine, the aircraft does start rolling, even with no throttle whatsoever. It also isn't running rough on the count of having 0 throttle applied as well. It's actually, in fact, it's actually got 0 pounds of boost pressure, which it shouldn't have. With the engine idled, it should be the dial should all be all the way around to there. It should be pointing down there, but it's not. It's pointing at 0. It should be into the minuses, but it isn't. Okay, never mind. Doesn't sound too bad, I'll give it that. Sounds vaguely like a Merlin engine. Oh, that brakes are a bit harsh, that's okay. So yeah, left brake, off we go. There seems to be no real torque whatsoever, but that's okay. I mean, the Spitty was pretty docile on the ground. It wasn't much of a handful, generally speaking. Let's go taxi to the end here. Although it could kick a little to the left on a takeoff roll, so... Powerful engine, lots of torque. It did have a wooden propeller though, these early ones, so not as much torque as you might think, but still quite a lot. Alright, brakes on. And yep, full left brake. Applying just even a little brake seems to cause the bloody thing to just upend itself nearly. Mind you, the pneumatic brakes on this thing are quite powerful. Typically you wouldn't pull the lever all the way to the full position, you sort of pull it half the way, but unfortunately just because I don't have a brakes axis, it doesn't work like that here. Whoa, yeah, see, if I pull it all the way, the thing goddamn well nearly noses over. That's incredible. There we go. Got it stopped. Alright, we got full pitch, we got auto-rich mixture. We're already rolling even as I take the brakes off, so fuck it, let's just go. No flaps, as I said, because pneumatic flaps with an up-down position. No degrees of flap. Full throttle. Yep, nose comes down thanks to the down trim, and rotate. Sometime today would be nice. My god, that down trim is actually quite severe. Excellent landing, very good. Okay, gear up. Get a wind rushing effect from having the canopy open, which is kind of fun. Get that closed. Pull the heat back. Pull the heat. Right, pull the RPM back to about that. Would be good, about 2600 RPM. I need dramatically larger amounts of up trim right now. If I let go of the stick, it just wants to go straight into the ground. It's pretty ridiculous. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, about £4 per square inch of boost, 2600 RPM. That's a fairly timid settings. Should be enough to get us up and away though. Up the X-plane sound a bit. Oh, before takeoff. Sorry, I didn't realize it was that quiet, to be honest with you. Oh bloody hell! It's all. You know, the reason why it's so quiet is because otherwise I can't fucking hear the IVAO and pilot edge controllers. We're going very fucking slow right now. A little too bloody slow for my liking, but okay. Settings, sound. Hopefully that's a bit better. I'll just turn the sound up in OBS if necessary. Oh. Ah, it looks like I've got an axis assigned to RPM. That's quite useful, actually. Alright, let's give it a bit more welly. Now, interestingly, if I push the throttle all the way forward, there's a dead zone here, for like the last quarter of the throttle or so, where the boost pressure does not increase. Now, out of curiosity, if I push the little boost cutout lever thing there, the gate, no, it doesn't actually increase any further than that, anyway, than £6 of boost. That's a bit of a shame. Never mind. This will do about £12 of boost on the deck, but apparently it doesn't seem to want to do any more than 6, indicate on the gauge at least, even though the gauge itself goes to 8, as you can see there, which is sort of hilarious, but whatever. Okay, it now seems to want to roll violently over to the left. This thing does have a bit of torque, but not that much. A little bit of rudder seems to keep that in check at least. But it does leave me crabbing slightly. If I take my feet off the rudders, look at that. Right over, it's just rolling like a crazy thing. Gear's still down, interestingly. What the devil? Well, that's wrong. I just put the gear into the lower position, and now it's pumping up. Slight bug there, perhaps. So we put the gear into the lower position, and then it comes up. Interesting. Alright then, right, ignore the hole in the world down there. How are our temperatures doing? They are doing fine. They're actually quite low. It's moving about quite a lot, this thing. It's a bit of a handful to keep under control. Alright, let's give it full throttle, full RPM, see if we can get it overheat at all. There you go, 3000 RPM, full throttle. Well, you know, £6 of boost anyway, the most throttle I can possibly give it. And we'll see if the temps start climbing. Do a few maneuvers. Don't worry, that's the head shake plugin being weird with the old view change. I should really switch that off, to be honest with you. Put it up into a steep climb. To get the speed down. The temps are just sort of all, they're very, very, very low. A bit too low, really, to be honest with you, under the circumstances. I mean, to be honest with you, I think the way if I had to guess, the way they've coded it is basically they've... Let me just lower that back to a slightly more reasonable RPM. There we go. About 2400 for cruise, really. There we go. 4 pounds a boost. I think the way they seem to have done it is they've basically just used the speed like data ref or whatever. Like, so the faster you're going, the cooler the engine gets. The slower you're going, the hotter it gets. Which is, there's a grain of truth in that, but that's not quite how it works. But that seems to be the way they've modeled it. And amazingly enough, this is like the full realism mode for the heating as opposed to the basic mode. God knows how easy the basic mode is. It probably just stays on fucking 40 degrees like constantly. That is not a very Merlin-y sounding engine out here on the external view, I've got to say. You get a flyby. Where is it? Still spot. There we go. Yeah, those sounds are not nothing to have a song and dance about, are they really? I seem to be doing approximately 320 miles per hour now with very conservative engine settings and a lot of not very clean flying, which I find slightly suspect. There's a little more to it than that. In fact, this thing technically down here on the deck more or less should not be able to do 320 miles per hour indicated. So there's that. It can do 320 miles per hour, but only up at altitude at about 15,000 feet. So look at the actual flight characteristics of it then. I mean, it's extremely, I mean, the roll rate seems a little crazy. It's very crazy, actually. That roll rate is way too much. But like the overall feel of it, and the elevator is way too stiff as well, but to be fair, you know, with a lot of airflow going over it, I mean, especially at like 320 miles per hour, it would feel a bit stiff. So that's not such a big deal. Can I just fucking turn that? Where is it? Where's head shake? Where are you at? Fucking head shake. Where are you? There we go. Settings. Piston engine vibrations. Turn them right up because they're pretty cool. And look ahead effects. Turn them off. That's when I'm turning. Yeah, there we go. That's fixed now. That's good. So let's see if we can get this thing maneuvering. Let's put the pitch up to the RPMs up to about 2600. That is reportedly the best. Those are the best combat RPMs to use because the constant speed prop would actually respond fastest at about 2600 RPM, which is why fighter pilots like Jeffrey Willem use 2600 RPM when they were in combat. I'm using full elevated deflection right now, and it is not only continuing to turn like a champ at about 240 miles per hour. It's very slowly bleeding the speed, but barely at all. But full elevated deflection in a Spitfire, I should be spinning into the ground to my doom right about now. This would be a. I would have gone into an accelerated stall about 5 minutes ago, and I would in fact be dead, because I would have spun. And at this altitude, very little chance of recovering in this aircraft. So, oh, you know what? Somebody needs a timeout. cannot abide cap spam. I really can't. Can I do a hammerhead in it? That is the question. Oh, no, here we go. Here's another thing. Does the engine cut out with -G? Yes, it does. It comes back a bit strangely. Now, all they've done is they've faded out the engine audio. That's all they've done. What about the RPM? Does the RPM drop? Negative. The RPM does not drop. The boost pressure drops, but the RPM does not drop. The RPM should be dropping when I do that. And what should happen is after I come out of the invert here, after I come out of that, for a little, the engine should really cough and splutter for a good, 5 seconds or so before it really comes back to life. It seems to just do it pretty much straight away though. It's not as, admittedly, now here's credit where it's due, it's not as bad as in Cliffs of Dover. In Cliffs of Dover, if you go and roll over, do -G, and you come back around again, it comes back instantly. The sound cuts right back in. It doesn't even, this at least fades back in. But yeah, in real life, the engine would cough and splutter. Reportedly, you'd get a bit of smoke in the cockpit, actually, a bit of dust being coughed up from the floor and that kind of thing. It was quite violent. There was a real incentive not to do it, basically. So yeah. Let's seriously cut our throttle right now and try our best to do an accelerated stall. Please? Please? Please accelerated stall for me. Come on, you can do it. Nope, it just... The turn radius just frickin' reduces. That's all AMS. We get down to about 160 miles per hour there, and now I'm full back deflection with the elevator right now. There you go, see, look at that, and nothing's happening. I'm just slowly drifting down to my doom at 160 miles per hour. Okay. How quickly does this thing accelerate, I wonder? It loses speed pretty goddamn quick when I throttle down. Put it back in. Bearing in mind this is about 2600 RPM, not full RPM. Accelerating very quickly. 200 miles per hour. 220 miles per hour. 240 miles per hour. All the while, by the way, I'm fighting the torque from the engine. I just take my hands off the controls completely. That is what happens. Look at the roll rate, though. I mean, let me put in a bit of rudder as well while we're at it. Whee! Oh boy. Sorry if you're reaching for the bath bags right about now. I mean, this thing's pretty agile. It's not like it shouldn't roll relatively well, but this is like stunt plane rolling right here. That's a bit much. Especially when, oh god, when you put in the rudder. This aircraft was not blessed with an unbelievably great roll rate. It was better than what you typically find on its companion, the Hawker Hurricane, but it was not as good as the Bf-109, and it certainly was not as good as the Focke-Wulf 190, which were the two main German planes that opposed the Spitfire throughout the war. I would expect an FW-190 to roll like that. Not a Spitfire Mk.I. Certainly not without, one of the later variants with the clipped wings, which did improve the roll rate. I mean, that's why they did it. So, how are our attempts doing? Attempts are still just 80 degrees, near 90. There's, yeah, again, I mean, it is what it is. Should we go try and land it? Now, Littlestone Aerodrome doesn't even exist anymore, actually, so there's no point in me trying to land there. But we could go down to Dungeness. Or Manston, for that matter. Let's see. Now, here's another thing. Let's have a look at the boat compass here. Now, if I move this around a whole bunch, it should be wobbling. And it is a bit, yeah, just not very much. I haven't been able to throw the artificial horizon out of kilter either yet. All the violent maneuvering I've been doing. It should have been thrown way out of kilter by now. Let's see. So, we're going north right now. I want to go south. Head down to the coast. Well, more like southeast, really. Good old Big Inn. We will eventually reach Manston, head into Kent. VFR flying at its finest. Not using a GPS here. I'm not even using radio navigation, I'm just using my eyeballs. And Dead Reckoning. I don't think I can do it with the kind of view you're thinking of. Testinal, not easily anyway. Not without probably crashing the plane in the process, I'm afraid. Sorry. The photo scenery ain't bad though. Like I said, I've been downloading a lot of it recently, to the point where I've run out of hard drive space, so I need a new hard drive if I want to get more photo scenery. It'll happen though. Oh, it'll happen. I've caught the bug, I'm addicted. I need my beautiful photo. There's only one other Spitfire available for X-Plane as far as I'm aware. It's the Mark 9, and it honestly, I've not tried it, but it doesn't look any better than this. In fact, it's arguably worse. How's our fuel doing? They modelled that correctly. You press the button to actually get the fuel reading. How? What? Our fuel is nearly empty? That's not okay, Rad. It's probably my bad for not loading fuel in the first place. That's not good. Can we do that mid-flight? I hope we can. Kind of want a fuel tank. A full tank. No, okay, right, we're boned, basically. We're going down. I can't cheat. Now, out of curiosity, I bet this you just watch. Since we don't have enough fuel anyway. If I pull this to lean. Yeah, kills the engine. Yep. And put it back in again, and it comes back. Yeah, that's not correct. That is very not correct. As I explained earlier, you don't you didn't pull the mixture back to lean to shut off the engine in a Spitfire. You would actually close the fuel cocks, and or use the slow run and cut out switch depending on the variant in question. Well, it looks like we've arrived at the coast anyway, more or less, so actually we might have enough fuel at the end of the day. Oh, we've run out of photo scenery as well, apparently. Sad times. I think that's Dungeness over there. Do believe it is, yep. So, yeah. Fingers crossed for that Camson P51 then. I guess, or alternatively, you know, you could just, you know, go fly DCS. Really. Or, you know, maybe fly the A2A Warbirds. I mean, I know you don't like FSX or P3D. That is well documented. But even so, those things are modelled very, very well under the circumstances. I mean, the landings are probably the only thing about them that isn't quite accurate. On account of, you know, the ground being made of glue in P3D and FSX, but, you know, yeah, this is Dungeness. Oh no, hang on a minute, we have got a shitload of fuel. According to the gauges anyway, I forgot you have to hold down the button. And it is using... It does appear to be using the top tank first, and then I'll move on to the bottom tank once the top tank's done. Ooh, wind ship. So that's good, that's modelled correctly. We can actually turn the starting magneto off now. Should have done that ages ago, but never mind. Yuck. England without photo scenery, but boys and girls, is an ugly freaking place. In X-Plane. It is positively disgusting. Blech. Just blech. I look like I'm in the fucking Persian Gulf. Not nice at all. Let's get away from it. I was thinking of landing at Dungeness, but actually, screw that. I'm going to land somewhere I've got some photo scenery. But if I was going to land here, there should be an aerodrome around here somewhere. If I remember correctly, is it down there? This is more or less where we were flying over earlier in Cliffs of Dover, by the way, just as a frame of reference. I'm looking around for Littleston, but I don't see it. Would be around here somewhere. Perhaps it's just not modelled. Oh no, there it is. There it is. That's the place. Okay, there we go. I think we'll head up towards Manston, actually. Ugh, that is actually disgusting. Go away. Photo scenery. Much better. Well, a bit better. Unfortunately, the photo scenery available for the UK is not amazing. There's a lot of panel, you know, what do you call it, tile lines all over the place, and some of the quality of the photo scenery is actually just not very good. It's got like clouds on it and stuff like that. It's quite disgusting, but it's the best there is, I'm afraid. Some areas it looks awesome, like the whole London area, it looks great. Other areas it's very patchy, like here down south. But there you go, there's Folkestone, which we flew over earlier with its harbour there. That's Dover up at the other end there. That's Hawkinge train station over there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's quite big these days. It was much smaller back in World War II on account of it looking a bit different nowadays, but hey. There you go, that down there, that is Lim aerodrome, which we saw earlier, but now of course it's not an aerodrome at all. There it is. You can still see the runway or what's left of it. 70 years later. Here's Folkestone. RAF Hawkinge these days is a museum, but it is, or rather was, up here. Battle of Britain Museum's down there somewhere, I believe. Big old train station these days. Dover's up this way. And Calais is just over there-ish, which is where we were earlier, being shot at and doing the shooting. I'm flying Mark 1 because that is the plane. It's the new plane by RWDesigns for X-Plane is the Spitfire Mark 1. That's why I'm not flying a different Mark. So here we go. Dover Harbour looks more or less like it did back in the day. There's a chap in ACG, by the way, goes by the name of Baron. He's 80 years old, and he grew up in Dover, down there, as a child, and he saw the Battle of Britain himself for real, from the ground. And he now flies with us in ACG, in our little Battle of Britain campaigns and stuff like that. Very cool guy. He's got so many amazing stories to tell. He joined the RAF as well when he was older after the war, and he flew Meteors. Really cool dude. And you know what? He's 80 years old and he knows more about computers than I do. So fair play to him. That's Deal over there. We're passing right over St Margaret's at Cliff right now, more or less. Yeah, down here. Which, back in the day, during the Battle of Britain, was referred to as Hellfire Corner on account of the fact that a shitload of dogfights took place over this area right here. Lots of people killed. On both sides. Yeah, this is Deal. Up there is Ramsgate and Margate. And Manston Aerodrome. Actually closed these days. It's used as a truck park, if you can believe it. But I believe it still models an airport in X-Plane and in FSX. I will admit, it's nice being able to fly a Spitfire and actually have the weather buffet me around slightly. As I said, the Cliffs of Dover has no weather to speak of whatsoever. However, in this thing I am getting bounced around a little bit, which is cool. Yeah, there it is. Oop. Same runway, more or less the same position as it was back in the day. Of course, it was a grass strip during 1940, as opposed to a concrete one. That thing had the absolute living shit bombed out of it by the Germans, and it was actually it was effectively inactive quite a lot of the time because they were too busy filling in all the craters. And over there is a whole shitload of wind farms, and yep, well, aside from the fucking power plant funnel over there, the wind farms are actually there in real life. We have shitloads of them off the coast in the UK. Yeah, Baron's great. He has so many cool stories. Like one story where his uncle, I think, was nearly killed when a German Heinkel flew over the town and basically just machine gunned a bunch of random houses, because they did that because they were assholes, and that's why we fought them in the war. Flew over the fucking street where they lived, belly gunner and the Heinkel just machine gunning indiscriminately all the houses down below because they were ordered to do that. And a bullet allegedly went right straight through the bathroom while his uncle was in the tub and hit the lintel, just sort of the wooden beam right above him. Missed him like by an inch. Apparently, there are in the small tiny town of Dover, and in this overall region over there, during the entirety of World War II, about 4,000 civilians were killed. 4,000. It's insane. That's the Isle of Sheppey up there. We're not not interested in the Isle of Sheppey. We're going to go land here at Manston. I'm going to go bring it around. Or I'm going to fucking try to, at least. The controls are very sensitive, I might add. As I said, the elevator it could do with being a lot more sensitive, because I cannot, like I said, I can't stall the plane by giving max deflection. That's wrong. But the rest of the controls are quite sensitive. Rudders, ailerons definitely. And this plane is legendary for having very sensitive controls. I can't remember who it was. It was a famous World War II pilot who said you didn't so much, you know, you didn't so much get into a Spitfire and fly it, you put it on. Like a jacket. But anyway, yeah, we're coming down here. I've pulled my throttle right back right now, but it's not slowing down in the slightest. And it's finally losing some speed now. Approach from the sea, which I believe back in the day at least, regardless of the wind, was pretty much the correct approach. You'd fly in from the sea. They didn't pay much attention to the wind actually back in World War II, it has to be said, especially in 1940. You read pilots' accounts and interviews with them and stuff like that. They pretty much unanimously agree that regardless of the wind, they just take off in a set direction. Of course, in World War II, more pilots were killed in training and in accidents than were actually killed in action, and I think you can probably guess why. Slowing this fucking thing down is going to be a challenge. Alright, here we go. Losing some speed now. There we go. That's much better. Right, 160. We can get the gear down. And literally, right, I cannot full fucking up trim right now. I'm putting the gear down, and I literally cannot. If I actually reduce the throttle anymore, the plane uncontrollably just flies into the ground. The ever-loving fuck is that about? Because you can't put the flaps down on this thing until you're below 140 miles per hour. But I can't get this thing below 140 miles per hour without it dropping like a stone. This thing will quite happily beaver along at about 100 miles per hour in real life. But in this sim, you get 140, it stalls and starts falling out of the sky. Look at this, see, look. I've got to put full throttle in just to get it back. What happens if I put the flaps down? Nope, still falls out of the sky. If we go below 140, it's, oh my days. I'm not even sure I can land this. Certainly not correctly anyway. Is that speed gauge even fucking accurate? Is that? I wonder. Is that measuring knots as opposed to miles per hour? Obviously it's miles per hour. It should be miles per hour. But I wonder if that's just actually registering knots as opposed to miles per hour. If it's measuring knots, that would explain it. Oh god. Yeah. Look, I've got to. Oh Jesus Christ. I actually cannot land this thing without crashing it at this rate. That's the best I can do, I'm afraid. I can't do a 3-point landing like you're supposed to. It is impossible. Now, I have a theory right now. If I even so much as tap the brakes, this plane will nose over and flip. Oh, no, okay, we're alright. If I gradually tap them, which, yeah, that's okay. That's correct, at least. We are now slowing down. Oh yeah, and I forgot. I have to lower my prop pitch completely in order to actually stop. Oh dear. And you got the nice vibration effects now from head shake. That's pretty good. Do like that. But it's got nothing to do with this plane. That's just head shake. Really cool plugin. Right, so we managed to get it down without killing ourselves. That's always a good start. Should have actually opened that on the approach, by the way. You're supposed to do that. Can I unlock the side door? I can! Huh, nice. Oh, and it opens again. Whoops. So, okay, so let's try and do this properly. By shutting these. Okay, it does, right, okay, you shut the fuel cocks, the engine does stop. It stops immediately, mind you, as opposed to actually rough running for a couple of seconds. Only about 30 seconds or so, but yeah, no, okay. It will switch off if you do that. Yeah, so... RWDesigns Spitfire Mk.I. Oh look, it's got that good old X-plane glitch where the propeller fucking moves by itself. Oh yes, flaps are still down. It won't come back up again because the engine's not on. Yeah, I can't even operate the switch, amazingly. I'm pretty sure we should still have air pressure in order to be able to raise those flaps with the engine off, but never mind. They're staying down now, apparently. Yeah, RWDesigns Spitfire Mk.I. I wouldn't recommend it personally. No, I would not. I would say either get the Spitfire for DCS when it comes out, or get the A2A one for FSX or P3D. The sim of your choice, because in spite of it being in P3D or FSX, it's actually very, very well done. The systems are perfect. The flight modeling is pretty damn good. It's only let down by the obvious sort of drawbacks of it being in that sim, effectively. Yeah, so never mind. I could have spent that money on something else, but I guess, like I said, I felt like I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I didn't review a new Spitfire for X-Plane. It's like the one aircraft I know shit tons about, so... There you are. Fingers crossed for the DCS Spitfire 9. That should be excellent. Based on the previous World War II stuff they've done, the Focke-Wulf 190 Dora and the 109 Kurfürst and the P51, it should be absolutely phenomenal. But we'll see. Till then, I wouldn't bother with this. If I'm being completely honest, I definitely would not. I will fly a fucking Spitfire on Pilot Edge one day. I will do it. I was challenged once to do it, and I will, but it won't be in this. That's for damn sure. I can't fucking land the thing properly, for one thing. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm pretty damn sure that is. I mean, I could probably get a thing up here if I went to like settings and data input and output and all that. I could probably check to see if this is indeed miles per hour or if it's knots. I strongly suspect it's in knots, which would explain why we were stalling at 140 and below. But that doesn't even make any sense anyway. Like, that's backwards. Like, if this was measuring knots, we should have... No, that can't be that either. I think, yeah, it's just not modeled even remotely properly. In the Spitfire, as a frame of reference, you're meant to cross the fence at about 90 miles per hour, and you touch down at about 60 to 70 miles per hour. Depending on how heavily or lightly loaded the aircraft is, of course. And even then, it will float quite a lot on landing. It's legendary for not wanting to fucking get back on the ground. It was a tricky plane to land in real life. So, yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, the Cliffs of Dover Spitfire ain't bad. Like, from a purely physics standpoint, in terms of like the way it flies and stuff, it's absolutely, it's almost spot on, really. It's just it's let down by the fact that the systems modeling in it is worse than this, which is, you know, saying quite a lot, really. The systems modeling in the Cliffs of Dover, all the Cliffs of Dover planes, really, but the Spitfire especially is, you know, I don't like that phrase, it's a joke, but it is a joke. Also, this is wrong, by the way. Just notice this. I think, unless it's like a version of the control column I've never seen modeled before, but the way this should work is it pitches forward and backwards with the whole column moving like that, but left and right, only the spade grip portion of it and this here is actually hinged in real life, and this spade grip would basically move left and right like that, with the control column staying fixed upright and only going backwards and forwards. As you look at that, you can push the control column into the light switches. The Spitfire only has about 15 degrees of nose down, and it has far more degrees of nose up, actually, as well. That's another interesting feature of it. In real life, you can only push the control column forward by about that much in the real thing, and pull it all the way back. Whereas in this thing, it seems to go all the way forward. But yes, you have a whole column which can move backwards and forwards, and the actual aileron movement is you get this flappy hinged spade grip on the top, which moves from side to side. So yeah, that's also wrong. If I were in Cliffs of Dover, if I could be bothered to load up Cliffs of Dover, I would show you it in action. But there you go. I'm wondering, should I get the A2A Spitfire up and running? I'm beginning to think maybe I should, just as a point of comparison. I think maybe I will. Yeah, maybe I will. And then once I'm done with that, then we'll... Oh, the fucking roundels on the bottom are wrong as well. They've got a yellow outline. They shouldn't have an yellow outline. Oh, God. Ugh, dearie me.